Wow, look at you all. I'm really nervous. Your bright faces are lighting up this room. Not just this room, I think they're lighting up the whole Brisbane and whole Australia. I was thinking, Kevin, when you're talking about fire, maybe I should also say, in case of fire, just follow Kevin. He'll be the first one to run out with his hands off. But let me see if you can make some noise as well, given how bright your faces are. All right, let me see you clap your hands. Come on, snap your fingers. Snap, 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 snap. Stamp your feet. Allahu Akbar. Let's do it again, much better now. Allahu Akbar. That was for me to be less nervous. A few years ago at the international convention, someone got up, and you get only a few minutes to talk. An African friend, he got up on stage and he was very nervous. And he got up and he said, "I'm really nervous. Can you all give me a clap?" So we all did. And of course, he was still nervous. Then he said, "Could you also clap for all our counselors who are here?" So his whole time we clapped for everyone. Then his time was up. Friends, this is the largest teaching conference in Australia. That deserves a clap. When we organized it, we thought 800 would be really good. Then we got closer to 900. We got a bit greedy. 1,000 would be really good. That would be a stretch, though. Then 1,100, and now we're close to 1,200, which is amazing, which is truly amazing, which just highlights our commitment to this beloved cause and the privilege of service that we have. Kevin and Solmaz John talked about Father and Mother Dan. 99 years ago, on the 10th of April, 4 days from now, they arrived on the shores of this country. You're familiar with the story, and it's not my intention to take you through the story. But I would like to draw out some lessons from their service. Abdul-Baha, in the Tablets of the Divine Plan, expressed his longings to travel and to teach. Could I have the slides up? Next one. He said, and next one. Oh, I can do it, yeah, thank you. He said, "Oh, that I could travel, even though on foot and in utmost poverty, to these regions." These are the regions that Abdul-Baha was talking about. "And raising the call of Ya Baha'u'llah in cities, villages, mountains, deserts, and oceans, promote the divine teachings." Abdul-Baha expressed that he couldn't do that, and how disappointed he was. And he called out and said, "I hope you can do this for me. This, alas," he said, "I cannot do. How intensely I deplore it. Please, God, you may achieve it." This was a clarion call for service, to arise. So the elderly couple, Clara and Vahid Dan, in San Francisco Bay, decided to respond to Abdul-Baha's call. Australia and this region had not been open to the faith as yet. They decided to move. This was a long journey for them. And they could only afford to pay for one ticket. So they wrote to Abdul-Baha saying, "Should we both go, or is it enough if one of us goes?" Abdul-Baha replied, "Yes, that they should both go, and that would be highly commendable." At that time, friends, Vahid was 65 years old, and Clara was in her 50s. And they had been Baha'is only for 13 years. And they were determined to fulfill the wishes of Abdul-Baha. The friends told them, "Where are you going? Australia, we don't even know where that is, so far away. Why don't you just go and serve, somewhere close by?" Vahid said to them, "I would rather die than not respond to Abdul-Baha's call." Sometimes we are not quite encouraging to their friends. Rather than saying, "How can I help? How can I be part of this glorious path of service you've chosen? We say, don't go. Sometimes even parents stand in the way of the services of their children. So in early 1920s, they set out. And they landed in Australia, as I said earlier, on the 10th of April, 1920, 99 years ago. They had nothing. The only possession, as they themselves said, was their faith in Abdul Baha. That's the only thing they had. Their decision to arise was made from a place of faith, not place of fear. And friends, when we make our decisions from a place of complete faith in Baha'u'llah, all the problems will be washed away. This is the guarantee he has given us. This is his assurance. But Baha'u'llah's hands are tied unless we arise. Clara and Hyde moved. They took a step, and Baha'u'llah held their hands. You know, there are many times we call out, there are many prayers where we say, Baha'u'llah, hold my hands. Hold thou my hand with the hand of thy power. But you have to extend out your hand for someone to hold it. You can't put your hands tightly in your pocket or sit on them and then say, why aren't you holding my hands? Where is your promise? You can't be hiding under a rock and saying the rays of the sun doesn't reach me. My tan is all gone. My vitamin D I'm deficient in. So we have to take a step. Baha'u'llah tells us that if you are with God, God is with you. And you will see that God is with you. But the key is to take a step. And that's what they did. They hastened to the field of service. They did not hesitate. They put their complete confidence in Abdul Baha. And the rays of the confirmation, the rain of confirmation showered on them. They entered the field of service armed with the power of his name and with his love in their hearts. Assured that, armed with the power of thy name, nothing can ever hurt me. And with thy love in my heart, all the world's affliction can in no wise alarm me. This is the place of faith, friends. This is the home of certitude and steadfastness. Was it hard? Of course it was hard for them. 3 months' journey, and not easy journeys that we take now. In a strange land, they knew no one, no friends. They had no money. They became ill. There was no institutions to support them, no government support. They decided that Clara would work, and she got work, and Hyde will dedicate himself to service. Then, of course, everything changed. Baha'u'llah's blessings surrounded them. Hyde got a job which was, for his services, was a dream job. He became a traveling representative. He traveled all across Australia, truly raising the call of Ya Baha'u'llah in cities and villages and mountains and deserts and oceans, promoting the divine teaching as Abdul Baha had wished. They would travel together, go to a town, and stay there for a few days. Hyde would do his work, and then they would have firesides and teach. Within 3 years, by 1923, they had visited 225 towns. That's one town every 5 days. Tireless. They did what Abdul Baha longed to do. Took the cause to every state and major city and town in Australia. They burned like 2 bright candles. Gave whatever was left of their lives in service. Now, imagine if they had said, well, it's all too hard. We are old. We have nothing. What about all the parties and dinners? What about our friends? What about this and what about that? They would have never arisen. They would have stayed in San Francisco, served the faith, of course, and passed away. They would not have written their names in letters of gold. The idea of arising would have been like so many noble ideas that we all have and don't act on. But no, they arose with faith and shined like the lightning, as Abdul Baha says. Like candles, they shed their lights. To outward seeming, they were frail and elderly, But in truth, they were the stars in the skies of God's guidance, the royal falcons on the wrist of God. This is the station of a true believer. Baha'u'llah writes that the station of those who arise to serve is so exalted that even that station was known to the extent of a needle's eye. Everyone would burn away in their longing to achieve that station. He writes, if the veil be lifted and the full glory of the station of those who have turned wholly towards God, and in the love for Him renounce the world be made manifest, the entire creation would be dumbfounded. So the message that Clara and Hyde brought to this land was a message of love and oneness. They came to promote unity of religion and unity of the human race. The Guardian writes that our intention as Baha'is is not to add another religion and create more conflict. He says, rather, our intention is to create an appreciation that all religions are in essence one. The coming of Baha'u'llah is to create a safe and united and prosperous world. What will ultimately, of course, friends, transform the world is the words of God. Baha'u'llah says that all that is needed to recreate the world, to transform the world, has been revealed. He says such means as lead to the elevation, the advancement, the education, the protection, and the regeneration of the peoples of the earth have been clearly set forth by us and revealed in the holy books and tablets by the pen of glory. So you and I are channels, and we have to make ourselves pure channels, hollow reeds, for the Spirit of Baha'u'llah to flow through us. And we have to prepare ourselves for this. We have to recreate ourselves for this. How do we do that? The beloved Guardian tells us what to do. The words of Baha'u'llah have the power to help us win victory over our own self and our ego. This cannot be done without effort, friends. Effort is needed for us to heal every disease of self and become worthy of service, to wear the crown of servitude, to become dust in the pathway of God's loved ones. Baha'u'llah writes, the Guardian writes, this is not easy. He says, unfortunately, not everyone achieves easily and rapidly the victory over self. What every believer, new and old, should realize is that the cause has the spiritual power to recreate us, if we make the effort to let the power influence us, to let that power influence us. And the greatest help in this respect is prayer, supplication. We must supplicate Baha'u'llah to assist us to overcome the failings of our own character, and also exert our own willpower in mastering ourselves. The words of Baha'u'llah, friends, are the medicine, the elixir that will cure us of our shortcomings and transform us and the world. A Baha'i lady in a European country some years ago sent a large amount of money to the National Fund. She wrote that after she married, she realized that her husband, who was not a Baha'i, was a heavy drinker. As time passed and his drinking habit continued, she became very concerned for herself, her future, and her children's future. She started putting a little money aside regularly to guard against what she feared was an inevitable misfortune. So in closing her letter with the money, she wrote, "A year ago, my husband recognized Baha'u'llah. His faith has cured him of his drinking habit. He tells everyone how he is now intoxicated all the time with the love of Baha'u'llah. I know my husband will never touch alcohol again. I feel safe and secure and need not worry anymore. So here is the savings that my husband and I offer to be used for teaching, so that others might also find the true path to safety and happiness." Baha'u'llah's vision and revelation are the best gift, friends, we can give humanity. We can give our neighbors, we can give our friends. And it's the most precious possession that we all have. So what can we do? What we need to do, of course, to tell everyone about the personage of Baha'u'llah and his vision. We need to teach in both words and action. We need to ask ourselves, friends, all the time, how does the faith need to be served? Not what I like to do, but how does the faith need to be served at this time? Because the needs of the faith changes. During the heroic age, we needed those who were willing to give their lives. During 10-year crusade, we needed individuals to arise and pioneer. Today, we serve by building new communities in our streets and neighborhoods. Baha'u'llah writes that teaching the cause must be viewed according to the conditions of the age and of the times, so as to see what course is deemed proper to take. At the global level, this decision as to what is the right course of action is made by the head of the faith, the Universal House of Justice. This determination as to what course to take is made based on the stage of the evolution of the cause of God. The cause of Baha'u'llah evolves through stages. The stage of evolution we are in now is entry by troops. We have passed the stage of emerged from obscurity as a global Baha'i community, and we've entered the stage of entry by troops. Baha'u'llah, in his letter to the king of Persia, foreshadowed entry by troops in the cause. Abdul-Baha wrote about it and anticipated it, and the beloved guardian described it as a necessary stage before mass conversion. What does that mean? The guardian explains that entry by troops is a stage in the growth of the faith that comes before the day when the masses of people will enter the faith. Thousands, millions. This is referred to as mass conversion. Between the stage of entry by troops that we're preparing for now and mass conversion, the guardian tells us a chain of events will take place in the world which could possibly be catastrophic for humanity. Let me read to you what he says. He talks about how we need to continue to teach, so there is a flow of Baha'is joining the army of light. This flow will hasten the advent of the day, which, as prophesied by Abdul-Baha, will witness the entry by troops of peoples of diverse nations and races into the Baha'i world. A day which will be the prelude to the long-awaited hour when a mass conversion on the part of these same nations and races, and as a direct result of a chain of events, momentous and possibly catastrophic in nature, will suddenly, baghtatan, revolutionize the fortunes of the faith, derange the equilibrium of the world, and reinforce 1,000-fold the numerical strength as well as the material power and the spiritual authority of the faith of Baha'u'llah. We are moving closer to the time when masses of people will enter the cause of God in large numbers. Today we are building the capacity, friends, for entry by troops, for people to enter the cause in larger numbers. But this will suddenly change, and the fortunes of the faith is reinforced 1,000 times, as is the faith's authority and its spiritual powers. We don't know when this will happen, of course. But before thousands turn to the cause, the world will behave like a silly and at times violent drunk, as we see happening in the world now. In their 18th of January 2019 message, the Universal House of Justice writes how this turmoil that we see in the world will increase. And if you have a quick look, quickly survey the world today, you all know this, I don't need to tell you. You will see how the planet Earth has become like a very rough neighborhood. It's disunited and full of conflict. There's lack of moral values, complete bankruptcy of all authority. The world is becoming more and more difficult to govern. There's breakdown of the family, widespread despair, and religious fundamentalism, nationalism, and racism. There are many enlightened thinkers in the world who write about this and who write how the world, how humanity is sleepwalking towards catastrophe. This is because the world has turned its face to waywardness and its back to truth. Unless the world wakes up and turns its face away from darkness and towards light, this state of disorder and confusion will worsen. Naturally, friends, you and I live in society, and we are affected by the disorder around us. There is no reason, of course, for us to despair, though. Baha'u'llah's protective arms, he assures us, is around us. And the challenges that we see in the world is readying the world to accept Baha'u'llah's message. The House of Justice in the 18th of January writes, no matter how bleak conditions may appear at any given time, no matter how dismal the immediate prospects for bringing about unity, there is no reason for despair. We know the reason for this turmoil, friends, as Baha'is. And we are confident that humanity will emerge from this darkness, and its future is unimaginably bright and glorious. But okay, there is something really important that we have to be aware of, though. As the old world order is being rolled up through the process of disintegration, we have to guard against being enmeshed in that process. This process of destruction can be quite seductive. Imagine a large building coming down through use of dynamites or a wrecking ball. People stand around and watch, hopefully at a safe distance, or watch or look at it on their devices. The process of the old order coming down is like that. We need to be watchful not to get involved, take sides, make comments on Facebook, get distracted and fail to do our job. This doesn't, of course, mean that we shut ourselves away from the world. We don't do that, but we are wise and careful. As hand of the cause, Mr. Faizi would say, you can reach out with one hand and pull out a drowning man, but if you give him both your hands, the chances are you'll be pulled in. So one hand is always on the rock of the covenant, on that cord that we hold on to. So we don't need to worry about the process of destruction as we are told by the House of Justice. We're not part of the demolition team, friends. We're part of the construction team. We are the construction force in the world. Baha'u'llah will take care of the old world order. We know that the ideologies such as racism and nationalism will eventually come down. These buildings will fall and will be replaced by love for humanity and the planet. We must pray, of course, friends, for the mitigation of the severity of these events and ensure that we are at a safe distance, promoting love, justice, concord, new standards for a peaceful society and world. Friends, we have a staggering amount of work to do, and we are very small in numbers. And this is the most precious time, as I will read from the House of Justice to you later. When the number of God-intoxicated lovers of Baha'u'llah, which you are, is so small, the work that we do, the contribution that we make, is so much more critical. Our job is to create a new society and create new communities on the planet. This is our burden, this is our destiny, and this is our good fortune. Having the vision of Baha'u'llah about the bright future of humanity, of course, we are filled with calm, confidence, and belief and optimism. The Guardian says that we should be so filled with this positive feeling of confidence. I'll read his words, that people will ask, In a world so hopelessly chaotic and bewildered, what leads these people to be so assured, so confident, so full of devotion? That should be our state, he says. Dear friends, the indispensability of this cause is assured. This cause will surge forward, as the beloved Guardian says. No matter what, its ultimate victory is assured. The Guardian writes, "Feeble though our faith may appear in the eyes of men, it shall forge ahead undivided and unimpaired till it embraces the whole of mankind." So this tree of God, friends, will grow deep roots, wide branches, and will be heavy with fruit. So what should our focus be, my focus be? My focus should be, how do I serve this faith? What is my part in this? What should I do at this precious time? And how do I not lose my opportunity to make my mark? The world is in need of complete redesign. The reality that the humanity is one people is the starting point for this new, upgraded, ultimate world model. Everything on the planet, our standards, will need to be redefined in the light of unity and justice. So since 1996, the worldwide Baha'i community, under the loving and watchful guidance of the Universal House of Justice, has commenced a new process to rebuild communities based on the vision of Baha'u'llah. This construction work, friends, is our job. And those who share the vision of Baha'u'llah with us and partner with us. I want you to really pay attention to this quote, please. The House of Justice in 1996, at the beginning of this series of plans, wrote, "This plan to which we are now committed is set at one of the most critical times," I underline that, "in the life of the planet." Most critical time. Thus, this plan acquires a special place in the scheme of Baha'i and world history. A special place in the scheme of Baha'i and world history. Friends, it's my firm view that we are too close to this process to understand how momentous it is. It's only future generations that will appreciate what was achieved and what the vision was. So what is this plan? Oops. See, before 1996, the Baha'i world was very much focused on enrolling new believers and establishing local spiritual assemblies, institutions. Of course, we still do that, and that's really important. But ultimately, new believers and institutions are the brick and mortar for building new societies and new communities based on the vision of Baha'u'llah. Otherwise, what is the point? You can have a lot of believers and strong institutions, but if we don't create new communities, we haven't made Baha'u'llah's vision into reality. So our job since the beginning of this plan is to start building these new communities right where we live, in our street, based on the vision of Baha'u'llah. And this is but natural. From the very beginnings of the faith, we have taught the faith, the believers have taught the faith right where they lived. Let's look at the time of the Bab. Think of the time of the Bab. The very first teaching campaign that in this dispensation was designed by the Bab. So the first 18 individuals had to find the Bab themselves, without anyone telling them, using their own inner spiritual compass. How amazing is that? 18 individuals. These were the letters of the living. And what the Bab did is he wrote a tablet to each of these letters of the living. He asked them to go to the places of their birth, where their networks were, where their family was, and to teach. Baha'u'llah writes, if these obstructing whales had not intervened, Persia would, in some 2 years, with this. And you can see how amazing, how strategic this is. It covered the whole nation. He says Persia would in some 2 years have been subdued through the power of utterance, and the supreme goal unveiled and unconcealed would have appeared in the plenitude of its glory in 2 years, by sending them back to where they were, where their families were. So our jobs, friends, is to unlock the heart of the cities of men's heart, which is the heart of the people. And this requires veritable friendships. This is why we engage where we live. We make friendships, as the House of Justice tells us. What is really in our own streets? What is really important, though, is to act. We receive divine confirmation, friends, as I said earlier, only when we act. We become channels for the Spirit of Baha'u'llah to flow through us. When we move, we stand up, we act. Of course, this is scary. There's apprehension. We're worried. And that's natural to feel that way. But the important thing is to take us to stand. Abdul Baha says in his writings, if you're asleep, wake up. If you're awake, stand. If you're standing, walk. If you're walking, march, run. Nothing will be achieved by sitting and standing. And the divine confirmations will not reach us if we just sit and stand. It's better than sleep, though. So the community building process that we are involved in. The foundation of these communities we are building, friends, are love, unity, and justice. We take a jackhammer and break down the long-held ideals of division, of us and them, and otherness. Cleanse ye your hearts, Abdul Baha writes, so that you behold no man as different from yourself. See no strangers, rather see all men as friends. For love and unity come hard when you fix your gaze on otherness. We're building communities in which children can be raised undamaged by racial, national, and religious prejudice. Communities that truly exemplify the equality of men and women. Communities that welcome with open arms everyone who wishes to join us, share the vision of Baha'u'llah, and be part of the transformation. Communities where we find remedies to the many ills afflicting humanity. You see many of the examples of these communities, friends, in the film A Widening Embrace. But we Baha'is are not working in a corner doing our own thing, separate from the rest of the world. And someone says, hey, you Baha'is, what are you doing there? And we say, oh, you have no idea. We are building a new world. You just wait and be patient. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a great surprise, glorious. We will gift wrap it with a bow on top and then we'll give it to you. That's not how it is. We don't do that, of course. We have to build this new world with everyone around us. The House of Justice says that the essence of the plans that we are involved in is very simple. We in our streets, apartment blocks, in our clusters, reach out and begin a process of growth. We are learning to engage with everyone around us. And the Baha'i world has learned that the most effective way of building these communities that we want to build based on the vision of Baha'u'llah is to start with a few activities. These we call core activities. Oh, what happened there? Sorry, that was meant to be all black and you could read the writings. But I'll read them to you. The core activities are devotional gatherings. These are core activities for community building. They are devotional gatherings, education of children, junior youth spiritual empowerment program, and building the power of expression and muscle through study circles. Of course, these are just essential or core activities. They are not the only activities. If you're building a house, you don't build the foundation and say the house is built. Nor, at the same time, you can't build a safe home without the foundation. So these are the core or essential or foundational activities that we undertake to build new communities. On our part, what is needed is courage and determination to reach out and tell the people we know to join the process. The core activities start by a few of us, by a few friends. Very simple beginnings. A few individuals going through the education process, the Ruhi books, and they build their capacity to start the core activities, maybe a devotional gathering. These activities increase in number as more and more individuals participate in the process. Slowly, a street or a neighborhood, you may have 20 to 50 core activities. In addition to the core activities, of course, friends, we do home visits, feasts, firesides, deepenings, and everything else, because those are only core. Everything else around it is also important. And it's not just Baha'is who are hosting these devotional gatherings in their home. If there might be a 10 devotional gathering in a neighborhood, one of them may be offered by a Baha'i family. Others will be hosting their own devotional gathering. Because Baha'u'llah's vision for a safe and prosperous home is not limited to Baha'is alone. You need everyone in the street to be part of this change process. We can't build a neighborhood and transform with a half dozen Baha'is. Everyone should own the process. Universal participation, but universal participation, friends, is only possible when we work in small settings. Imagine if we are consulting in this room with 1,000 of you. Only a few get to talk and contribute. But if we think of this hall, of every section of it as a neighborhood, and every row as a street, if we only take these 20 people and consult, everyone will have a say. So it's critical for universal participation that we work in small settings, in neighborhoods, in streets. So, but for everyone to play their parts, they need to build skills. And how do they build skills for the service? How do they do that? They build their skills through the Training Institute. The Training Institute gives us the skills that we need to build these communities. That's why the Training Institute, the House of Justice, is the heart of the plan. Because without the skills, we can't really serve the plan. But the Training Institute, friends, has two arms to it. Also, the House of Justice says that it is not possible to have sustained progress anywhere in a cluster or a neighborhood without a strong Training Institute. And the Training Institute has two prongs to it, two arms to it. One is the study, the Ruhi books, okay? One is going through the books and studying them and building the capacity, the power of conversation. But that's not enough. That's only one part of the Training Institute. The other part of the Training Institute is the scheme of accompaniment and coordination. I always say this: you can't expect someone to do book one, build the capacity for conversation, for devotional meeting, and then tell them, may God be with you, go and start a devotional gathering. It doesn't work like that. They need to be accompanied. There needs to be a support structure for them. And that comes from the Training Institute. So we got to always remember that the Training Institute has these two arms. But the most important skill we learn through the Training Institute is the power of expression and conversation. So how does that work? The sequence of courses gives us the structure for conversation. So when you do book one, in a street or a small groups doing book one, from the very first book, the participant come into contact, of course, with the revelation of Baha'u'llah. They discuss worship and service and the life of the soul, and they build their capacity to express themselves. Slowly, they build the discipline to pray, and they also study other books such as the Hidden Words. And then they start their act of service and have a devotional gathering and invite others to it. The conversation in the community or the street begins to change. The devotional character begins to change. Then a few of them move and do book two, where they discuss elevated conversations and also learn how to respond to the needs of the hearer. Then when they do book three, they come in touch with the Baha'u'llah's spiritual teachings about the education of children. They do book four, and they begin to come more deeply in touch with the person of Baha'u'llah and the Bab, and the concept of crisis and victory. They do book five. When they do book five, this results in conversation about Baha'i teachings relating to spiritually empowering junior youth. They do book six, where the conversation is between two souls, a direct teaching effort. And a process of spiritual transformation. So you see, as we go through these books, the most important thing we gain from them is the power of expression and conversation. Because that's our armor. We win the world with our words and, of course, our action. But the books give us that power of expression. The House of Justice writes, then, consciousness of spiritual forces is raised through conversation. A sense of unity and common calling is fortified. Confidence that a better world can be created, strengthened, and a commitment to action becomes manifest. Friends, this way, a neighborhood or a street is suffused with discussion founded on the teachings of the faith. And a new pattern of community life begins to emerge from very small beginning. And it takes time. It may take a year or longer for us to begin, the nexus to grow. And then, of course, the Training Institute, the other agencies begin to then channel the ATC, and others kick in their processes. Friends, building a new world takes time and effort. There will be, of course, challenges. Some of these challenges we will face because we are learning still to become Baha'is. We are a mix of what we should be, and a mix of what we bring from the old order. As the House of Justice tells us repeatedly, mistakes will be made, and that's okay. The faith is not that fragile, but the few mistakes will damage it. We have to show utmost patience, humility, and love for everyone. We should not be critical of everyone. Slowly and patiently and lovingly, we can bring about this change. Not being judgmental or critical of anyone or any institutions. Always remembering Abdul Baha's admonition of the importance of love and fellowship. It is in unity the truth will be revealed and the wrong will be made right, he says. This means that as Baha'is, friends, we have to be different. Our behavior, our sense of mission, our relationships with each other, our conception of service and institutions, our habits of thought have to be different. Baha'is follow the way of unity. Whatever causes conflict and disunity, friends, is abhorrent to us. Abdul Baha writes, the friends should lay down their lives in this arena, that they may exhilarate the people of the world with the wine of love for one another, and may gladden the hearts of the whole human race. The more they strive for harmony, the greater their progress. The more they exert effort to achieve unity, the more they will witness tokens of divine assistance. Dear friends, in closing, Baha'u'llah assures us that if we take a step, he's right there beside us. Of course, when Baha'u'llah says that, it's not ta'aruf, it's not just a nice sentiment. When he says that, O ye servants of the sacred threshold, the triumphant hosts of celestial concourse, arrayed and marshaled in the realm above, stand ready and expectant to assist and assure victory to the valiant horsemen who with confidence bear on their chargers in the arena of service. He assures us that if we take a step, he is right there beside us. Abdul Baha shares this story about a Bedouin in Accra. He says, in Baghdad, we went hunting with 3 friends. As we set camp, a poorly clad, barefoot Arab approached us. One of the friends wanted to scare him away with his gun. Another one intervened and said, no, don't do that. The Arab asked for bread. We gave him that. He asked for gunpowder. We gave him gunpowder. He asked for rope. We gave him rope. Then he left. And the friend who had intervened said, don't look at this thin, dark, barefoot, and poorly clad Arab. He's a leader of a large tribe and has many men. If we had in any way annoyed him and refused his request, with one shout, all his men who are now behind that hill would have converged on us
rushing to his aid and subdued us and taken revenge. Abdul Baha says, now that is like us. Seemingly we might be barefoot, badly clad. We're not. You know what I mean. We may be meek and poor and lowly, but the celestial concourse are waiting expectantly. And if we turn to them, they will rush to our assistance. So friends, put your hands out and ask Baha'u'llah to hold your hands, because he has assured us he will. But putting your hand out means taking steps, arising to serve, turning to Baha'u'llah and expressing your helplessness and saying, I'm scared, help me, hold my hands, and be assured that he's standing ready to hold your hands. Allahu Akbar.